My brakes will
hang on it, and this got to be the turning point of the game. And, you know, Dennis Green on the sidelines, he just cannot believe
acid
it.
indigestion.
Oh, yeah. That would have been a 7-7 game right there. And then Brad Johnson, you know, big contract, big mistake right
Brad, don't throw it across field. No. And if you are going to throw it, get a John Elway arm. I'll tell you about that. Big touchdown.
Teague again with a touchdown here. Teague was magnificent in this game.
You know, Ed talked about the big splits for the Dallas Cowboy offensive linemen. Well, they're just bigger than the Minnesota Vikings. And here's a hole Emmitt Smith runs to. Vince, I'm pretty sure you could have made it through that hole. Might have gotten tackled about the 15. Emmitt Smith, a very easy day for Emmitt yesterday. He almost got to rest yesterday in a ball game where he had 100 yards. If the field had been grass, his uniform would not have been dirty.
Well, guys, very, very dangerous-looking Cowboy team now.
Hey, this was like a Saturday practice rather than a scrimmage or a real game in the NFL. They just got tuned up. Those engines will be running.
All right, we'll see what happens next week for them. Now, I'm sure Carolina was watching very closely. I hope you're watching closely, too. We'll be right back on NFL Preview. Coming back, Tom Coughlin joins us live, the Jacksonville Jaguar head coach.
People call you guys bunny spotters, is that right?
Bunny spotters. I think that it trivializes what we do. It's much larger than that.
I mean, once you've seen it, you can never go
No
back.
doubt about it.
Big win in Buffalo and a big party in Jacksonville. Look at this, 7,000 to 8,000 people at the airport in Jacksonville greeting their triumphant Jaguars. You think they don't like their football out there? You think they're not excited about this second-year team? They did what a lot of people felt they could not do, and that is knock off the Buffalo Bills on the road in the first round of the playoffs. Prior to Saturday's game, the Bills had never lost a playoff game at Rich Stadium. 9 tries, 9 wins. And then it was like Joan Embry let loose the wild Jaguars, and they just went crazy over there in an outstanding, well-played game. One of the big stories in that game, a fellow named Natron Means. Here's a guy resurrecting his career. Playoff and career-high 175 yards rushing. Natron would not be denied in this game. He looked marvelous. It was a real spark.
A spark indeed, I tell you. Is that a smile,
That's
James?
a smile. That's a smile from Tom Coughlin. Unbelievable.
We'll be talking to him later.
Here's Tony Baselli acknowledging his higher power, but on the field, Tony Baselli against Bruce Smith. Baselli was the higher power. He thwarted Bruce Smith all day long, kept the superstar from Buffalo away from Mark Brunell. See Bruce Smith complaining, but nothing to complain about right there, buddy.
And you give Mark Brunell time. Here's what he has. Is that Big Pete Mitchell? Recruited by Tom Coughlin. Look, Tom taught him all those moves at Boston College. Boy, is that shoddy tackling by Buffalo or what? What a fourth quarter this guy played right there. Mark Brunell, he's a story in itself.
Outstanding. The whole team just came alive. 30-27 the final there. Afterward, the Jags, Keenan McCardell said, you have to recognize us, and we do it. Right now, we recognize the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's so kind to join us today, Tom Coughlin. Tom, congratulations on an outstanding win, and what a big party going on there in Jacksonville last night when you get home. But I have to ask you, when you were 4-7 back in November, did you ever dream that something like this would happen as we're ready to reach January?
Well, we kept believing in ourselves, and we kept thinking, you know, one game at a time. And really from week 12 on, we've been in single elimination, and we've kind of gathered some momentum, and people are playing good football at the right time of the year, and we just believed in ourselves.
You continue to believe in yourselves as a team in the fourth quarter. In 14 wins over 2 seasons, 6 of them are come-from-behind wins in the fourth quarter, just like yesterday. Brunell showed a lot of poise after that pick for a touchdown, leads him right back down and gets a touchdown.
That was a key turning point in the game for us, is how our team would respond to a negative. And, of course, the defensive players came down to Mark and the offense and really encouraged us that we would not be stopped. And we went right back out on the field, and down the field the ball went, and we got in the end zone to tie the game up. That was a key part of the game.
Tom, talking about Mark Brunell, here's a guy who was kind of a wild card when he first came to Jacksonville. A guy who liked to run around a lot, but in the last 4 ball games of the regular season, really stayed in the pocket a little more, took the reads a little bit. How much has this guy improved just over the course of this season?
Oh, he's improved tremendously, James. Mark Brunell, at the beginning of this year, was very conscious of the idea that he needed to stay in the pocket more. He did move out of the pocket on occasion, but throughout the course of the season, he's done an outstanding job of trying to take advantage of what's there. If we do have good protection and the ball can go down the field, so be it. If the coverage is there or the protection breaks down, he has the God-given ability to scramble and then make something happen many times in the scramble, whether it be throw the ball or run the ball.
Tom, you still got your coaching gear on. Did you come right from the airplane to the office and review those films?
Right back. Hey, it's just a day after the game. It's just a typical Monday for us.
Hey, we've all been there.
Sunday.
We've all been there. Listen,
Yeah.
6-0 since you fired Andre Rison. Is there a correlation there?
Well, I don't think so, really, Ron. We were at a point there where I was looking into the future and thinking that Jimmy Smith, who had made such great contributions to our football team on third down, needed to add the big play potential to our football team on first and second down. I was not really overwhelmed by our production, if you will. We weren't making as many big plays as I thought we needed to, and we needed to get Jimmy Smith on the field.
Tom, so much had been made of all the tough rules that you imposed on your team, but you heard some of the guys talk about you, and Tom has softened up just a little bit. Is there any truth to that rumor?
Well, I don't know that it's softened up, James. The rules and the things that we believe in and the values, the work ethic, the discipline, those things are all in place. I think what has really happened is that, if anything, I have a little more faith and trust in this group of young men, and that we're all on the same page. We have singleness of purpose, and our objectives are clearly the same.
Tom, we watched Natron Means run all over the Buffalo Bills, and here's a guy that's really bouncing back career-wise. What has helped Natron Means turn the corner and get squared away and be this kind of a force running the football?
Natron has really shown us many things this year. He's shown patience, he's shown grace, he's shown dignity. He did not have many opportunities until late in the season. But late in the season, getting his opportunity to play, two things became apparent to us. That he was, in fact, rushing the ball better. And the thing that most people were not aware of is he was doing an outstanding job of block protection. Now, yesterday, he certainly had a tremendous day and, of course, demonstrated his cutback ability and his power, his ability to break tackles, and also his ability in the open field to make some things happen in terms of his quickness and speed.
Now, barring an Indianapolis upset at Pittsburgh, your next opponent, the Denver Broncos, traveling to Denver. I wonder if you've even thought about making that trip or seeing the Broncos.
Well, we've thought about every angle, which Ron can certainly attest to. We've thought about all the angles. You know, we're trying to prepare ourselves no matter what happens, whether it be go to Denver or go to New England. But we're pounding away today trying to get in that direction.
Tom, we saw that mood in Jacksonville at your return and greeted by the fans there. I'm wondering if you could give us a sense of what's that like now, what it's like there in the city, and what you came back to last night.
Well, it's an incredible football town to start out with. We've had great fan support since we came to town a couple of years ago. But last night when we arrived, there had to be 10 to 15,000 people lining the road coming away from the airport. At each turn in the junction of the road, there had to be twice as many people as we'd seen prior to that. So even as we came back to the stadium, there must have been 4,000 to 5,000 here at the stadium. It was a very joyous occasion. Our fans truly came out and supported our players and our team, and we were just excited about being a part of that.
Well, Tom, congratulations on a marvelous win, and best of luck to you throughout the rest of the playoffs. We appreciate you stopping by, and we wonder if you could leave us with one of those warm smiles that we've become accustomed to. There you go. Yeah. Thanks for being with us this morning.
You've become accustomed to them, huh?
Well, with those playoffs, if they continue, we'll see them more and more, I'm sure. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right, we want to go back now to Three Rivers Stadium. Peter King is there, and Peter was in attendance for the Jaguars and Bills game. And Peter, it seems that Jaguar John Jurkovec did a little method acting during that game. Can you explain?
Well, what happened is you saw how early in the game the Bills' no-huddle offense was really steamrolling the Jaguars. So John Jurkovec pulled one of the oldest tricks in the book, and that was he basically just laid down and said, "I'm hurt." And they came out on the field. They got a 2-minute and 30-second blow. Jurko admitted to me after the game that he wasn't hurt. He was just giving his teammates a rest. That wasn't the only thing that Jurkovec admitted to me after the game. He said that 9:30 yesterday morning, eating breakfast, they were passing around the Buffalo News where, in their mind anyway, they were afforded no respect. They were kind of trashed by the Buffalo News, given very little chance to win this game. And he said, "I'd just like to thank the Buffalo News for giving us the inspiration to win this game."
And, Peter, we've heard so much about Jim Kelly and his possibility that could have been the last time we see him being pulled off on a cart out of Rich Stadium. He's been promised an agreement with Ralph Wilson, handshake-wise anyway. What's your take on that?
Well, after the game, that was one of the saddest things about yesterday, in my opinion. I was coming down the tunnel yesterday, Vince, when Jim Kelly was coming up in the cart. And on the one hand, you've got the visitors' locker room at Rich Stadium, and then you got the Bills' locker room on this side. Kelly comes off the cart, and he starts walking toward the visitors' locker room. And the trainer had to, no, Jim, this way, this way. And so it was really kind of a pathetic scene. I do believe that this is the last game that Jim Kelly will play in Rich Stadium because the Bills simply can't pay all the guys they need to pay.
Well, if that's true, unfortunate way to go out. Thanks, Peter. We'll see you a little bit later on in the show. NFL Preview rolls along with much, much more. We'll talk about some coaching changes and the power struggle that's taking place now in the NFL. Front office, head coach.
The ocean, the source of life on planet Earth. Get ready to own it. Battleship CD-ROM. It's all-out sink-or-swim naval strategy. High-res 3D graphics, 16-bit audio effects, and nerve-wracking real-time battle. You're being attacked while you're attacking. Fight above and below the water in 2,000 square miles of ocean. Even battle around the globe, on land or modem to modem. You can rule the high seas, or you might end up treading water. Battleship on CD-ROM. If you can't stand the heat, get out of the ocean.
Can MasterCard help stop a thief? The answer lies in the tamper-resistant panel that MasterCard pioneered. It makes a stolen credit card practically useless. And your MasterCard even more secure. MasterCard. It's smart money.
How's your job?
Great. There's still a lot of stress, though.
You still getting those headaches?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually went to the doctor. I thought they might be migraines. He said they weren't. He told me to take Tylenol, extra strength.
Tylenol? Not some prescription, huh?
The Tylenol works great, Dad.
More than aspirin, more than ibuprofen. For headaches, doctors recommend Tylenol the most.
You should have come to work for me, Julie.
Oh, sure. No stress there.
Today on Late Edition, the mood of America, how we judge our leaders and ourselves. We'll look at the nation's future and its place on the world stage. Today, noon Eastern on CNN.
It has become a hot-button issue in the NFL for coaches and owners. Should an NFL head coach have the power of a general manager as well? Be able to pick his own players rather than work with players chosen for him. Some guys have lost jobs because of this. Dan Reeves, June Jones, and power struggles. And in fact, 9 teams have had friction between front office and head coach this season. But in Green Bay, head coach Mike Holmgren and general manager Ron Wolf have a solid football marriage. But they're the exception and not the rule. We asked Holmgren why that setup works in Green Bay.
I knew Ron was going to be my boss. I knew he didn't want to coach the football team, which was a good thing. At the same time, he told me he'd never give me a player I didn't want. So on the personnel decisions, we come to agreement, on decisions. And the great thing about him is that we can share ideas and the egos don't get involved. The whole idea is the organization has to be on the same page and shooting for the same goal. If you reach that goal, there's enough credit to go around to everybody. And so when a player is chosen, as an example, in the draft, okay, that's our player. That's a Green Bay Packer player. That's not Mike Holmgren's player. It's not Ron Wolf's player. It's not the personnel department's player. It's our player. And then when we leave that room after the draft, as an example, okay, that's the thought process. And we will not, Ron or myself, we will not allow any of that finger pointing to take place.
But, James, as we talked about, of course, everybody's happy when you're winning games. So, the relationship
is good. But the important thing that Mike Holmgren said in there, when you send someone to the store to go shopping for you, if they come back with what you want, then you're fine with it. And that's really the key here. These two guys get along well off the field. And when you're winning, nobody worries about who's in control.
Ron, since I've known you, we've had this conversation about coaches not having the general manager power. Why do they want the ultimate power, head coach?
Well, Vince, the buck stops at the head coach's desk. He gets blamed for every loss, and, the general manager, the personnel guy sitting next to the owner during the game, say, hey, I gave him the best players. They've been used wrong. And all
sounds like he's heard that.
I tell you, and they whisper in the ear, and no coach calls a perfect game. So it's kind of a lose-lose situation unless you get complete control.
All right, let's go back to Peter King, get his thoughts on this. And, Peter, it's like Ron said, the general managers always say, hey, I gave you the players to win, but I'm wondering now, will this continue for future NFL hires? Will coaches want to assume both roles?
Vince, there's no question coaches want that role, but just look what's happening. You have a potential Hall of Fame coach in Bill Parcells in New England. Bob Kraft is not going to give him ultimate control over the draft. Now, the Mike Holmgren, Ron Wolf thing is really unique in the NFL. I sat with Holmgren last year while he was deciding, do we take Keith Jackson back or not? Mike Holmgren trusted Ron Wolf and said, hey, Ron thinks it's the best for this team. I'm going with his gut feeling.
And it's all about trust, Peter. That's our motto at NFL Preview. Back with Mr. King after this break. He's got the notebook ready. January rolls in, and so do those little news items across the league. Peter will fill us in next.
Hidden behind the legend lurks the person. Mike Tyson, a lot of complexity. Magic Johnson, Pete Rose, Hank Aaron, Bob Costas. You know, a great coach is like a great general. Don Shula or Colin Powell, leading men into battle. I've been interviewing people for over 35 years and have never seen a smile like Michael Jordan. But behind that smile, hunger like you wouldn't believe. Best job in the world, no doubt about it.
1996. It was a year of terrorism and terror, of life discovered and life destroyed. A second-term president and a first for democracy. A year of the upset and the up-and-coming. The life of the rich and the passing of the famous. The building blocks of history that shape our world. CNN presents 1996. Tonight, 9 Eastern.
People call you guys bunny spotters, is that right?
Bunny spotters. I think that it trivializes what we do. It's much larger than that.
I mean, once you've seen it, you can never go back. There's no other pink like that. You've been through here.
Bum, 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 bum.
I've seen it 16 times. To watch somebody find it, see it for the first time.
Whoa. I feel very fortunate to be here because, you know, when we're all gone, I'm still going to be out there.
Can MasterCard predict the future? Well, someday a computer chip in your MasterCard will be able to recognize your finger pattern, making your personal ID truly personal and your MasterCard even more secure. MasterCard, it's smart money.
News travels fast.
This just into headline.
That's why people turn to Headline News for continuously updated sports reports. Because it doesn't matter what hour of the day it is, the time for Headline News is always now.
It's only a piece of paper. But this little card has kept millions of young people off of drugs, out of gangs, and in school. Support the Boys and Girls Clubs.
All right, let's go back to Three River Stadium now. Peter King is there. We're going to look in the old notebook. And Peter, start with the old Jets, 1-15. And why in heaven's name would Bill Parcells want to leave New England and take that Jet coaching job?
Well, Vince, whoever takes this job, whether it be a coach like Bill Parcells or an architect like Bill Polian, they're stepping into the worst salary cap situation in the 4-year history of the cap. And I'm going to show you why. Look at some of these numbers. These numbers right here are the Jets players' numbers on the salary cap in 1997. Now, when you see guys like Roger Duffy and Marvin Washington well in excess of $1 million, you can see how the Jets have mishandled the cap. Now, need to explain these numbers. These are prorated signing bonuses plus salaries for 1997. These are the numbers that will be assigned to the salary cap for the New York Jets. What they basically mean is when you account the first-round guy for next year with the Jets, they're going to pay their top 15 players a total of $30 million. Now, with the cap projected next year at $41 million, that leaves only $11 million, Vince, to sign the last 38 players on your roster. With the Jets, you're going to have a group of haves averaging $2 million a year and a group of have-nots averaging $290,000. Whoever takes this job, they got an incredible landmine they're walking into, Vince.
Sounds dangerous. And speaking of danger, Denny Green really didn't help himself with his 4th playoff loss in 4 tries, did he? I mean, is he in trouble?
Well, 2 weeks ago when Roger Hedrick told me that, hey, I want to see us finish strong and then I'm going to take away all the questions about Dennis Green. It's a two-sided coin right now, Vince. Dennis Green wants to look elsewhere. He wants to look at the Rams. He wants to look at the Raiders. And last night, Roger Hedrick said he wasn't sure whether he was going to let Dennis Green go out and test the waters. Vince, this is going to be a continuing story in Minnesota.
All right, we'll be following it. Thank you, Peter, very much. We'll be back with more on NFL Preview in just a moment. Stay with us.
Time now for our Athlete of the Week. Detroit Barry Sanders ran for 175 yards Monday in a loss to San Francisco. In the process, Sanders won the NFL rushing title with 1,553 yards and became the first back in league history to run for at least 1,500 yards in 3 straight seasons.
Athlete of the Week, brought to you by Discover. The Discover card. It pays to Discover, the car that pays you back.
Announcing the Adventure Discovered Sweepstakes.
I've been shopping, big time. It's all right here on my Discover card statement.
Use your Discover card, and you could win everything on Boyd Matson's statement.
Patagonia. It's me. 2 tickets on American. My new Jeep.
Plus, you'll join him on
a National Geographic filming expedition.
It's the grand prize in the Adventure Discovered Sweepstakes.
Well, I've done my shopping. Have you?
It pays to discover. Watch National Geographic Explorer on TBS.
Fran, could you get me the Tylenol?
What happened to your aspirin? Is this prescription yours?
That's why I switched to Tylenol. My doctor said aspirin could be a problem.
Really?
Yeah. He said if you're taking certain prescriptions, you need to be careful.
Oh, I've heard that before.
With me, Tylenol is the best choice. And it works great.
For millions of people on certain prescriptions, Tylenol is the pain reliever doctors recommend most. Talk to your doctor.
You know, Mom, the older I get, the smarter you get.
Maverick, I've got a bogey at 10 o'clock.
Ghost, I'm too close for missiles. I'm switching to gun.
Never, ever leave your wingman.
The movies you know by heart. The new classics on TNT.
1996. It was a year of terrorism and terror, of life discovered and life destroyed, a second-term president and a first for democracy, a year of the upset and the up-and-coming, the life of the rich and the passing of the famous, the building blocks of history that shape our world. CNN presents 1996, tonight, 9 Eastern.
First of all, I want to congratulate Ron Meyer on a gutsy pick yesterday, taking the Jaguars over the Bills on the air. But today, no one sees an upset here. Everybody likes the Steelers.
Well, you look at the big bet is running the ball, LeBeau's defense, a close one here, Steelers win.
All right, Eagles, 49ers, and guys, once again, you think that we're going to go conventionally on this.
Yeah, but the most important guys will be the offensive centers. Just getting the ball back to the quarterbacks in the rain, the quagmire, known as 3-com now is going to be problems.
All right, well, enjoy the day for Ron Meyer, James Lofton, Peter King, Brent Weber, Mark Morgan, Austin Murphy, and the rest of the Cleveland Browns. I'm Vince Cellini. Enjoy this Pro Football Day.
Hi, I'm Denise Dillon at the CNN Center in Atlanta.